Liverpool is currently the only city in England to be placed on the level 3, very high COVID alert level. And, you know, I think even when we talk about level 3, people might think, well, 3 is the lowest, 1's the highest. No, 3's higher than 1. It's hard for it to read.
Even level 1, you'd think low risk is actually called medium.
Yes.
So level 1 is medium. Then level 2...
There's room for confusion.
There is room for confusion, and it does mean that the highest tier, tier 3, which Liverpool is about to be put under, or is under, all pubs, gyms, leisure centres, betting shops and casinos in the city have been ordered to close. But our next guest this morning is taking a stand. Because
he said, right, I've got a gym, but I'm not going to close it. He's Nick Whitcombe. Let's go to Nick. And Nick, yesterday you were visited by police and you got how much in fines?
So we've had our first fine of £1,000. We're one of 5 gyms to receive that so far. There is almost 70% of Merseyside's gyms standing open as we speak right now.
OK, so the fines are rolling in and people will ask immediately, they'll say, do you risk losing more in fines than you would in lost business?
Well, we've collectively, us gyms across Merseyside, we've run the math, we've seen the financial package, and we know that we will go out of business. The package that's on the table, as said by our own mayor, Jo Anderson, it's inadequate. The same package has been offered to Manchester, and their mayor has said it. You know, they're being treated like second-class citizens. We simply wouldn't survive this if we had to close our doors. And not just that, the evidence doesn't support the decision that's been made.
Have you had any COVID cases tracked back to you that you know of, Nick?
We've not had one single call from Track and Trace, not one.
And as far as you know, none of your clients, customers have had COVID or got COVID from coming to your gym?
None, no. So the data that we're using, UK Active data, there has been, I mean, this is from the 24th of July to mid-September, there had been 22 million gym visits and only 78 confirmed cases. I believe some new data was released yesterday. It's closer to 300 million visits now with only 256 confirmed cases. That's why gyms are only responsible for 1.7% of the infection rate when we have education responsible for 35%, hospitality responsible for 25%, restaurants responsible for 9%. Yet gyms and the fitness industry in general are only at 1.7% of the infection rate. We are a huge... what we do alleviates the strain on the NHS for mental health purposes, for diabetes, for obesity. I don't understand why we would close down one of the only sectors that does support the NHS and helps alleviate the strain that they're under.
But you're not engaged in civil disobedience, really. And listening to what you've had to say is Dr. Chris Steele, who will comment from a public health perspective. But basically, Nick, the authorities will say, and your borough council at Wirral will say, they have been instructed by central government to do this, and that is the public health message. And you, according to them and according to central government, are not in the interests of public health.
Well, I mean, that's not my conversation to have. All I know is that our local MPs do not agree with this decision. Our local mayor does not agree with this decision. Our local police do not agree with this decision. Our people do not agree with this decision. Nobody is endorsing anybody to break the law. We just know that the decision that has been made isn't supported by the evidence, and we're just asking for somebody to take 5 minutes to take a look at the evidence. If they come back to us and say, look, here's the evidence. This is why you should close. This is why we believe you're more of a threat than you are a aid to the battle against COVID. We will close our doors immediately, no questions asked. Nobody here is not taking COVID seriously. We know that we understand the severity of the situation. All we're saying is please provide the evidence and we will close immediately, because as it stands, the government data that's available does not support this decision and our city stands behind us.
OK.
Well, let's go to Dr. Chris, because Chris, you know, we're hearing that the hospital admissions are on the rise. People being admitted to intensive care is on the rise in Liverpool. What do you make of what Nick and a lot of other gyms, it's not just Nick, he is the spokesperson this morning, but a lot of other gyms in Liverpool as well are doing?
Well, because of the rising number of cases, and that's going to be more hospital admissions and potentially more deaths. From a medical standpoint, I've got to say, that Nick is acting irresponsible. However, Nick, I'm actually supporting you in what you do because you're bringing the attention of the public to this issue. I mean, gyms are usually large, airy rooms. I think if you've got windows open and good ventilation and fans circulating the air, that's going to make it a more safer COVID arena, as it were. And maybe if you did testing at the door each day, I don't know what these tests cost, but a simple, quick-acting test. But also, how long is this going to last for? I think you should be given adequate financial funding in all these hospitality areas. You can't have people, having their businesses closed down and then being fined money on top. You're kicking a man while he's down, and that is not right.
And what financial support, if any, have you been offered, Nick? Is there any discussion about that?
Yeah, I mean, I may be a day or so old on any updates, but what was offered does not even cover our rent. It does not cover our rent, and that goes for the vast majority of us across Merseyside. And as I say, our mayor stood with us and said that this is inadequate. We can't make this happen. We spoke with our local MP, Angela Eagle, yesterday for almost an hour. And she said, how are our people meant to survive on 66% of minimum wage?
Also, can I ask, Nick, what measures did you put in place in your gym when you were first allowed to open? So during lockdown, so many businesses, gyms and hairdressing and salons were installing new ventilation systems, doing everything they could to be ready to open. What did you do and how much did that cost you in your business?
So as you're aware, we were the last sector, well, one of the very last sectors to be allowed to open. We were given our booklet by the council. And it must have been close to 80, 90 pages long of how to make the workplace safe for COVID. It required a lot of money and a lot of finances. Fortunately, when the last lockdown happened, which for the record, we adhered to the letter, we gave away all our equipment. We gave away about £80,000 worth of kits to our members free of charge, no deposits, just to keep their mental health strong through lockdown. In return for that, which is completely unexpected, they continued to pay their membership, which enabled us to put the measures in place that were required of us to make our facility COVID safe. We have an unlimited supply of masks and gloves that are optional, but are our reception for the members to use. Obviously, we're following all the track and trace as we should.
Right, well, you're doing what you can do. Chris, you're listening to Nick, right? So the Liverpool area, the Wirral area, compared to the Manchester area, which is due to follow. Certainly if central government had its way, but you've got the mayor there, Andy Burnham, saying, no, we're not doing anything unless you supply us with the right financial aid or financial package. It's such a difficult thing, Chris, but medically, what do you think the stance of your mayor is making?
Well, I know he's opposing these measures, but, the government has to give extra financial support. If we're going to go ahead and close places down and have a more severe lockdown, then, people whose lives depend, on those businesses have to be given some support. I mean, okay, out there you've got a killer virus in the air, but my goodness, I don't know what will happen actually with Andy Burnham, in opposing these measures. What would be the next step legally? That would be an interesting situation to see what develops. But again, like Nick, Andy Burnham is drawing the nation's attention to this issue, and public awareness is very important in this area. But of course, it's so complicated now. I can't get my head round tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Keep it simple, stupid.
Keep it simple. Nick believes, Chris, that gym work is essential to his mental well-being, his mental health, and he makes a case for this, for gyms to be treated as special cases. However beneficial it has been to Nick personally, finally, what would you say, could you make a case for gymnasiums being kept open, or do you think they've just got to toe the line when told to do so?
Well, it's a very strong argument that Nick makes. I mean, exercise is so important, to physical health and mental health. And, since the start of COVID, we know that, depression, anxiety, suicide attempts, alcohol abuse, drug abuse, they've all increased because of this stress and trauma of these past 9, 10 months. And going to the gym, of course, counteracts that, and the NHS isn't paying for this, and you're getting the physical boost and the mental boost. So one has to encourage exercise. So I'm certainly behind Nick there as well. He and his colleagues in this business need to get supported.
Okay, Doctor, thank you very much indeed. Final word to you, Nick. You're paying the fines at the moment. Would you go to jail if you had to?
I don't think that will be necessary. I don't think that will get this far before it's been heard.
OK, thank you very much indeed. Nick Whitcombe there. He's the owner of Bodytech Fitness Gym in Morton, and Dr Chris Steele, our resident GP. Thank you.